What's up everyone, I'm Ray with Inviri Studios, and this is a continuation of a series in which I give my thoughts, history, and opinions in all the games I'm interested in. For this week I played the 2016 remake of Ratchet and Clank to catch up with the series before the release of the newest game, Rift Apart. The 2016 remake is a recreation of the original game, and although it does keep and update some of the original mechanics, it mainly follows the story of the movie that was being released around the same time. This remake is not well liked among the fanbase, changing too much of what made the original a classic. However, I was still curious to see how it holds up on its own 5 years after its release. Of course, everything I say in this review is my own personal critique, and these reviews are meant to really be reasons why you should give these games a chance, but more my personal connection towards the games, what I enjoyed or disliked about it, and my final thoughts on the game as a whole. So, let's get started with my review of Ratchet and Clank. During the PlayStation mascot wars of the mid-2000s, 3 game series were fighting to become the newest face for the PlayStation 2. These 3 games were Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, and Ratchet and Clank. Of the 3, I played both Sly and Jak games in my childhood, so they became nostalgic symbols of my time with the PlayStation 2. Sometime in 2018, I saw the Ratchet and Clank collection on the PlayStation Store, and since I knew about the remake, I decided it was time to finally check out the series, and what better way to start than with the original trilogy. Just like with Sly and Jak, I found myself addicted to the characters, the platforming, the combat, the story, and all challenges found within each planet. These games were just as engaging as its rivals, and I was glad to see they made their way to the next generation of consoles, while the competitors went on to create new projects. Since I finally played the original game, it seemed like a good time to check out the remake and see if it can leave the same impact on me as its predecessors. The story of the Ratchet and Clank remake loosely follows the story of the film while adding its own elements to keep the game engaging. In the game we play as Ratchet, a mechanic who dreams of becoming a galactic ranger and fighting to keep the galaxy safe, but is denied the chance to join because of his short stature. He is soon joined by Clank, a defective robot from Drex Industries who crashes onto the planet after trying to warn the galactic rangers. Ratchet eventually tricks Clank into believing he is a ranger and sets off to find the rangers and prove he's worthy of joining. Both Ratchet and Clank help different people across the galaxy, fighting against Chairman Drek, the leader of the blogs, planning on building a new planet while destroying the galaxy. Although the story follows the plot of the film, there are additional planets added to help extend the universe and give Ratchet and Clank more opportunities to become heroes. While playing the game, you'll notice how certain scenes are animated differently than the in-game graphics, and that is because the game uses certain scenes from the film. This instantly gave me the licensing game vibes when the scene establishes a location or area. Then the game takes creative liberty to show what happens after the scene ends. Although it's meant to convey the same story, the scenes from the film created a sense of dissonance with the game. Whenever the game transitioned to the movie scenes, it felt out of place every time, not only showing aspects of the characters that weren't developed, but arbitrarily forcing them to go to places just because that's where they go in the film. I personally believe the game would have benefited if they created an original story within the same world, instead of following the film and being forced to make sure it matches. Also, the film offers more backstory for characters, whereas the game just transitions randomly, making it seem as if the player is able to understand or follow along even though they weren't shown the same scenes as the movie. The game was at its best when it kept to its own continuity, but moments from the film completely stopped its flow. Also, due to the story being forced, certain planets and areas couldn't have been as developed as it was in the original game, just because it had to keep to the film's continuity, which led to gameplay dissonance as well. Ratchet and Clank follows 3 categories for its gameplay: third-person combat shooting, collecting platformers, and minigames spread out the world. This 2016 remake embodies all the established mechanics and the enhancements made in later entries, showing how the game has changed since the original. Combat is narrowed down to Ratchet shooting his enemies with the different guns he finds and buys while traveling the galaxy. While shooting, Ratchet is also able to strafe, allowing him to dodge while he attacks. Ratchet also has a wrench to attack, but the wrench is barely going to be used because of the upgrading ability. The more you use a weapon, the closer you are to upgrading its potential, meaning extra ammo or a more powerful impact. This element gives the player the incentive to experiment with the weapons, since some are better than others depending on the location and the type of enemies attacking. While traveling, Ratchet can find Ratanium, a gem that can be used to manually upgrade the weapons, making them more powerful, increasing the damage range, or even the ammo count, allowing the player the chance to decide which weapon they like to upgrade and how. The form of currency established since the original game is bolts, which can be found everywhere, inside boxes and crates, and even after the enemies have been defeated. These bolts are everywhere, meaning that there's rarely going to be a time when you don't have enough to buy new weapons. The combat itself is one aspect of the game I found extremely enjoyable. Since Ratchet is constantly fighting and with different enemy types, it created a sense of urgency of which weapons would be best. Although it might seem repetitive when you look at it, playing it is a completely different situation, especially when you're given access to numerous weapons to unleash your creative, destructive element. One thing that is noticeable from the start is a sense of progression from the weapons. Early on, you're given access to lots of weapons, making the game a little too easy in the beginning, but as the game progresses, it adds more to the challenge, making you strategize on the best way to overcome these hordes of enemies. Personally, I'd recommend new players to start at the hardest difficulty so that they'd have a constant challenge throughout. Outside of combat, both Ratchet and Clank are able to explore certain areas of the planet. These games were known for its exploration, offering the players numerous paths to explore at their own pace and experiencing the world. However, as the series progressed, it began to focus more on the combat rather than the exploration. In this game, there are only some planets that allow the same freedom as before, while others are more like combat challenges placed in a large room. The games before also had substance within its planets, showing the different individuals and their place within the galaxy. In this game, the amount of people Ratchet and Clank runs into is limited, making the world seem less inhabited than the previous entries. Even the people Ratchet and Clank meet seem like generic NPCs whose only purpose is to give the duo a new planet to visit for some random reason. Ratchet and Clank themselves seem much more bland in their interactions with others, sometimes just standing there and staring, not even looking at the person directly. This shows a sense of laziness from the animators and the creators, since it's just the character models being stationary while they're being told what to do next. Before, the games offered interesting dialogue and interactions between the characters, showing each unique individual, but now they just use the same character model and change the name and outfit. This not only shows a lack of unique characters, but how the creators didn't even try to offer the same creativity to the world as before. The original game also had a satire of capitalism, shown with each character finding a way to shake down some boats from Ratchet, but in this game there's barely any moments of genuine comedy relating to capitalism or even the original satire. Within these worlds are certain collectibles, such as the golden boats and holo cards. The golden boats are hidden across the level, giving the player a reason to explore, but the only things that can be bought with the golden boats are certain cheats that just makes the game too easy and unenjoyable. For this reason alone, that collectible became pointless and only offered the trophy hunters another challenge. The holo cards are holographic cards of different areas, weapons, and characters that offered additional stats to Ratchet if the set was completed. Most times I ignored the holo card and barely noticed the difference when a set was completed, but for returning fans, it can give them a sense of nostalgia, seeing the different weapons and characters from the previous games. These collectibles didn't offer much in reward, so I can see most players ignoring them entirely. Another aspect of the game established since the beginning are minigames. These minigames aren't the usual ones found in other games, but just changes in the gameplay to help change the style of the game and offer a new experience to the player. The main minigames found in this game are the grind rail sections, the hyper races, and the turret shooting game. Each one of these minigames are found on certain planets, and most times they are just meant to give the player more boats or gadgets they can use later on in the game. I found most of them entertaining, but the grind rail minigame definitely had certain annoying moments which could easily made me not want to continue with that section. These sections were a good change of pace for the game, but most times they could have been completed quickly, and with the lack of interesting prizes, gave me no reason to return other than to earn PlayStation trophies. In the original games, Ratchet and Clank typically had character arcs that expanded throughout the games, showing their change in mindset, attitude, and perception of the world and galaxy they traveled to. In this game, Ratchet and Clank are two characters that have been reduced to generic characteristics. Ratchet is a bright-eyed hero dedicated to fighting for justice and helping others, willing to do anything without ever questioning his actions. In the original game, he had a sense of development from a high-headed mechanic to a well-renowned hero. But in this game, he already has the hero's optimism, wanting to go wherever he's told there's danger, never questioning it or saying how he feels about the mission. Ratchet in the games before also showed more emotion and passion in his adventures, giving his personal opinion on the matter at hand, whereas here he just goes anywhere without ever saying a word, barely showing what he personally believes in and showing no depth to his personality. Clank in the original games seemed like Ratchet now, working to better the galaxy and help the people, believing it's pointless to go anywhere unless it's to help the cause, finding it only logical to only go where help is needed, but as the series went on, he developed his own personal interests, becoming more open in his mentality. In this game, Clank is basically a mute, rarely discussing or showing opinions and thoughts, just usually introducing himself and Ratchet to the others. There are only 2 moments in the game where Clank genuinely talks to give his thoughts on the current situation, and both are in the film cutscenes. These changes in the character's personality really lessens the experience and makes the game less enjoyable since they're just 2 boring individuals going on an adventure. I'm gonna be honest here and say that the music in this game didn't leave a mark with me, with most of them just sounding like an altered remix of one song. At this moment, there is barely any planet in which I could distinctly remember the music used during exploration or battle. The sound design in this game isn't too bad, with the explosions and weapons offering a distinct noise to help add on to the sense of destruction, but there are moments when narration disrupts the flow of the game, sounding arbitrary and annoying. I said it before and I say it again, the dialogue in this game was definitely lacking in comparison to the originals, and all the moments when the characters were interacting with each other felt like cardboard meeting bad comedians.
The kids love their social medias. Hashtag Gadgetron.
Overall, I was able to enjoy some moments with Ratchet and Clank, but the lack of creativity with the characters, the world, and the story kept me from fully enjoying the experience. I believe that in concept, the game definitely had a potential of being one of the best remakes of a classic game. However, due to the reliance on the film, I wasn't able to get invested into the world and all it had to offer. The combat was the most entertaining aspect of the whole game since I wanted to improve and upgrade all of Ratchet's weapons, but besides that, I felt it was pointless to pursue the collectibles and to replay the minigames. I've said it in my previous videos, but this time I believe it to be true when I say that the original is definitely the better experience. It created the foundation for the Ratchet and Clank world and presented a comedic story with drama and urgency mixed in, as well as heartfelt moments that brought the player back to the world. The 2016 remake does bring together all the mechanics established over the 13 years of game development, and I would recommend playing it before the release of Rift Apart so that you have a good sense of the modern updates to the mechanics. But when it comes down to truly enjoying the game, the original trilogy is the best way to go in my opinion. I want to thank you all for watching, and this week Inviri Studios is giving away a brand new copy of the Ratchet and Clank HD collection on PlayStation 3. To win the HD collection, all you have to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave any thoughts in the comments. Also, we will contact you through your YouTube channel, so if there's no way to contact you on your YouTube page, then your win may be voided. By the end of the week, the winner will be chosen and we'll contact them. Thank you all again for watching my rant on the Ratchet and Clank remake, and we'll be back with our review of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.